Hi and welcome to RambleMedia.tv's live review of Psyonix Software's Rocket League. I'm joined tonight by in the party by with Danny Black and Will Hamilton. Hi guys.
Well,
now Rocket League. Well, I know you've not played Rocket League, so I'll explain a wee bit about the history of it. This is actually the sequel to the PlayStation 3 game Supersonic Acrobatic Robot Powered Battle Cars. Now that's a mouthful and a half, you know. So straight away the game's, you know, got a plus point. It's got a short title, easy to say. Now, funnily enough, Supersonic Acrobatic Rocket Powered Battle Cars is from the long list of classic games that came out in 2008. You know, games like Metal Gear Online. One of the strange things about it is, while all those other games that came out, you know, the class of 2008. While their servers have been switched off, you can still play Supersonic Acrobatic Rocket Powered Battle Cars to this day on the PlayStation 3, which it shows the game has got a massive replayability factor just by that longevity. I mean, that's 7 years that those servers have been up and running.
Is it still in the store?
Yes. You can still purchase Supersonic Acrobatic Rocket Powered Battle Cars.
I may have to look for that then.
You know, it's a really good game, but then it does have a high replayability factor. But I'll get into that in a moment. But first, now, as I said, Will, I know that you yourself haven't played it. Myself and Danny, we were playing last night. We actually won 2 matches. Basically, if you've seen the episode,
I'm surprised about that.
if you've seen the episode of the BBC show Top Gear, in one of the episodes, Richard Hammond and James May play football with cars. This is basically the same thing.
Football with cars, right?
Yes, this is basically
soccer.
Wembley
Stadium, wasn't it?
Yes. The difference with this is, as the original title says, the rocket powered cars, which means you have like nose boosts and that sort of thing. Now, one of the things that I discovered is that the cars have got a very wide turning circle unless you use the handbrake, which on the PlayStation is the square button. Now, the steering controls, this is a pick up and play game. You know, R2 makes you go, you steer left and right with the left stick. You change the camera about if you have to with the right stick, but most people, especially people who are just starting like yourself, Will, I would say stick with the ball cam because it means your car always turns to the ball all the time.
Okay.
I would also say that while playing a match, for all the people who have just started, if you're playing the goalkeeper, you know, sit maybe a wee bit inside the goal, that way you get a wider view of the pitch. Now, one of the surprising things about this is the fun factor. Whether you're actually watching this game or playing this game, it is really fun. It's fun to watch. You know, you're on the edge of your seat watching it. There's been times where my wife's actually fell about laughing watching us trying to backflip a giant ball into a giant net, things like that. Now, there's numerous cars that you can pick from your garage. There's 11 cars all in there, and coming up on the screen right now you can see them all. The very last car that you unlock is Sweet Tooth, which I believe is from a PlayStation 3 game. That you can't do any modifications to Sweet Tooth, but other cars like the Octane, which is the car I'm using at the moment, it does have, you know, various things that you can manipulate. Like you can add stickers to it, decals. You can change the paintwork. The tyres, in a lot of games involving cars, the tyres and the wheels, they determine things like your speed, your acceleration, turning circle, that sort of thing. In this, in my opinion, none of that matters. You know, they haven't none of the tyres, none of the wheels do anything. So I wouldn't recommend any particular set to anyone. I mean, I could be very wrong about that, but they haven't affected anything that I've noticed. Now, the rocket trail, well, as it says, they're rocket powered battle cars. What that means is that they've got rocket boosters, so it's like a Nitros. So you can choose that, different colours. Now, all these things are all unlocks, and you unlock them all as you play through the game, whether it be in season mode or in online mode. season mode, you're playing against AI bots, of which you can set how many matches you play in the season, whether it be 9, 11, all the way up to I think 27. Now again, it does have a training mode as well, and I would recommend for anybody who's just starting to play the game, actually play through the tutorial and the other 3 training modes, the goalie mode, the striker mode and the aerial mode. And I would say at the very least try and master the goalie and the striker mode. Aerial mode, I'll be honest with you viewers, aerial mode I'm not too good at. I'm okay at the goalie mode and I'm okay at the striker mode. In general I would say I'm okay at the game. I'm not brilliant, I'm not the world's best, but I'm okay. Now, I'd just like to say a couple of things about the sound of the cars. The sound in this game, I find it quite generic. Even the soundtrack, which you can hear at the moment, it sounds like a dance form, a dubstep to a degree. And it's not so much that's not my musical taste. It's just I think that it's very generic, and that seems to be the norm for this generation of games, particularly with the driving games. When I reviewed Drive Club Live last year, I said the same thing. It was a very generic soundtrack that the game had, whether you could turn it on or off. That's not to say the soundtrack's bad, but it's not good either. You know, it's just I feel that it's very generic. And the cars, there's not really much of a difference in the way the cars sound, and while the sounds of the cars are generally the same. So in a way I was quite disappointed myself with the sound of the game. But the gameplay is, it's pick up and play. It's, you know, it's gameplay for dummies 101. It's so easy to do. The brake buttons are square, L2 reverse, R2 makes you go, and you steer with the left stick. You know, you jump with X. I mean, how many other card games do you get where you jump? You know, that in and of itself tells you there's some kind of fun that you can have with this. You know, and that again goes to the replayability factor, just the sheer fun of playing the game, watching the game, and especially online. You know, people do get competitive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send an invite out to both of you, yourself as well, Danny.
Yep.
And we're going to find an online match. Now, graphically, as you can see, for an independent game, graphically, these are fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
The car, I think, they're really good.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would like to add as well that even though it's an indie game, it's really fun to play. It's got the whole package, in my opinion.
Yes, it does. It does, and it is a really fun game to play. I think, as I said, I'm disappointed myself with the sound aspect to the game, whether it be the music or
is it the sound? Is it the sound or the soundtrack?
Say that again, Will.
Said, is it the sound or the soundtrack?
It's just, I would say the soundtrack, like I says, the soundtrack I find very generic, and I think the sounds of the cars, because there's not really much of a difference, you know, in a way you never feel as though you're driving a different car, unless of course it's one of the vans or the larger vehicles, because they move a wee bit differently in the air than the sleeker cars, like the car that you can see on the screen just now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and find this online match. Now, Rocket League is free at the moment if you're a PlayStation Plus subscriber, and if not, I believe it goes on sale next month for £20 downloadable from the PlayStation Store.
Even for the money, like of £20, like it's well worth it.
Yes, oh definitely. I would certainly say it's well worth it. Certainly
well worth
say it.
£20 in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
If I didn't have PS Plus, I would buy it.
Yeah, but that's just one of those things. I enjoy this game. I think it's quite I think it's fun to play. I'm trying to find us a online match at the moment. The online system, as you can see there, viewer, it's a very simple system. It's just menu driven. It just searches. Now, because this game came out on PlayStation Plus, this was the game that last Tuesday gave PlayStation Plus what I like to term the hug of death. And it completely choked the PlayStation Network last Tuesday to the point where they ended up turning the servers off for this game for an entire day. Now, recently they've been keeping them on longer and longer and longer. They had them on for 25 hours without any interruptions the other day, and going into the next day, obviously. But this game does have issues currently with the online system, so we may be disappointing you, viewer, with the lack of a match. But if that being the case, I'm sure we can I can show you a match in the season or in an exhibition.
I would like to point out that last night, whenever we were playing, it was a bit laggy.
Can you see that?
It was very laggy, like the lag was very bad. And it wasn't because of us, it was because of the other team, the players in the other team.
Yeah, that is the other thing.
Yeah, that's always the excuse. I'm not bad at COD, it's all the other excuses.
Well, yeah, it's all the other excuses. I seen a pie chart the other day about that.
I'm not bad at Call of Duty, it's all other bollocks.
Yes. Well, I'm glad you said that and not me. Now, as it says there on the screen, you can see it updates the pings to the regions, and every player has got a ping rate. And one of the things that I found is that when you're connecting to places like the United States and that, your ping rate goes up, and we all know that that's a bad thing. You know, the lower you want it, as low as you can get. And last night, as Danny pointed out, one of the other players in the team had a ping rate of 128. So I'm assuming that they were trying to play people in Europe, but they themselves lived in America, or somewhere like that. Now, the matchmaking system in this game, that's built into the servers, connects you with people who are of the same skill level. You know, whether it be rookie, semi-pro, etc.
Any on the same skill level as me.
Yes, well, you would be classed as a rookie, so that's what they'll do. Now, as I said earlier on, there was a couple of tips for people, so I'll reiterate them well for yourself, if we do get into a match, that is. And what those tips are is try and stay goal side, and by that I mean your goal side of the ball as much as you can. If you're playing in goals, maybe hang back actually inside the goal mouth so that you can get a wider view of the pitch, so you can anticipate a wee bit earlier. If you're striking and going forward, maybe hold back a wee bit, try and get through the gap to reach the ball before the opposition. Now there we are. Again, the servers appear to be having problems. Matchmaking attempt number 2 there. So I don't think we're actually going to get a match online, which is quite disappointing.
Do you want me to see if I can try?
Do you want me to do a private match?
Yeah, well, I think we could actually get a private match, yes. I'll try that. Searching for private match in EU. So, overall, I would say that this game has more positives than negatives. A positive for it is how good it looks graphically, except for a couple of wee niggles regarding the camera, but that's when the ball is high in the air and closer to your car or your chosen battle car than it usually would be, and I've been able to find a game server, lads, so I hate to disappoint the viewer, but we can't have a match. So graphically this game is superb. The sound, not so much. I think the sound is very generic, from the actual soundtrack to the sound of the cars themselves. Gameplay wise, it's pick up and play. Just for that alone, it means that it's a very, very easy game to get into, a very, very easy game to play. But again, it's an extremely difficult game to master. It's more
I'll
about...
send you invites.
Okay, Danny, it's more about, you know, working the... It's more a game of... It's more like working the space than, you know, anything else. So graphics are brilliant. Soundtrack is a negative in my opinion. Gameplay is a positive. The very easy to use menu system is again another positive. The very easy to use online system, it's not like systems say in Call of Duty or Battlefield where you're trying to squad up and then you've got to wait a couple of months while everybody else is squadded up, and then you've got to wait for a loading screen and things like that. It's very quick to get into a match here. You're not waiting 5 minutes for the game to load in. There's numerous... There's a...
Jeff on the chat's asking, is there much difference from the beta?
Not really. It's more the additions make this game a wee bit better than what it was during the beta test. The season mode is a bonus because for new players you can work your way through the season mode, getting the unlocks, improving the cars. More importantly, you're getting much needed match practice before you go online. And as I said earlier, I would play through the tutorial and all of the minor training modes and maybe 1 or 2 season modes before I would play the game online. But then in the beta test you were just thrown to the wolves and put straight online. They didn't have the season mode, and you only had the choice of 2 cars. So there are some differences, particularly when it comes to, you know, the more aesthetic choices, colours, decals, wheels, tyres, additions. As the viewer can see, I've got a Scotland flag on my car, but that's because, well, I come from Scotland and I pride myself on being a patriot. Now,
Ricky,
yes.
do you want to join my invite there, please?
I think the issue with that, Danny, is I would actually... the stream would cut off
for maybe 2 seconds.
You know.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Now, as I said, what I can do is I can show an exhibition match, you know, and I'll set it at pro difficulty, and it'll be a 1v1 versus the AI basically. And I'm going to start that match just now. As you can see, it doesn't take long to load in, and you know, there's 2 teams, blue or orange. You can either, if you're doing the exhibition match, you can choose which one you want, or you can just auto join. I just prefer to auto join, but that's an aesthetic choice. As you can see in the stadium, there's plenty of things, you know, flag waving and that going on in the background, which in a way for an indie game is rather impressive, because it means that they've thought it out and they're treating it like a sport. And I believe that when the PlayStation Network fully rolls out the eSports League that PlayStation have recently started, I believe that this game should be added into it, because I think this is one of the perfect console eSports. Very fun to play, it's very quick, very fast. Each match is only 5 minutes long. Sometimes goals are very easy to score, sometimes they're very difficult. As you can see, there's the wee thing, the wee issue I have with the camera, and that is the fact that the camera drops below the pitch, so you can't get good judgment, or maybe that's just me. I might just be completely rubbish at the game. Now, the 1v1 mode which I'm playing just now is the one mode that I think you can afford to play headlong. You know, just racing for the ball.
What's the bot AI like?
The bot AI on the easiest difficulty setting, on the rookie setting, the bot AI is very, very easy. I've seen myself win matches in season mode 15-0 and things like that. Pro level, that's a wee bit different, and all-star level, well, I mean, I got completely scalped online the other night, 12-2 by a pro player, so I decided to start an all-star league to practice a wee bit better, and what I discovered was that was a bad idea, because I was getting beat 10-0 and things like that by the bot AI. So The All-Star rating, they're exceptionally difficult, I feel. Not to say that that's a bad thing. I think a steep learning curve only improves games. You know, especially a game that relies more on timing and a bit of skill and a lot of luck. Much the same as real football. I don't think in any way that Psyonix have deliberately tried to capture, you know, the feel of a big football match or a football game like FIFA. They've gave us a variation on it which actually works as a console esport. And for me that can be a good thing, because I believe that esports might just be something that's going to be big on consoles in the future. As you can see, again, that problem with the camera. But this is a very easy game to play, and for free on PlayStation Plus, that's fantastic. Graphically, it's very good. For an independent game, very, very good. Now that move there, viewer, was the dodge. And you do that by double tapping X as you push forward, and that gives you a wee burst of speed. Now, sorry Danny, I think I interrupted you there.
Yeah, sorry. Rocket and I are in an online game.
Are you? See.
Yeah, we're in an online game.
See, I didn't want to lose the stream.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Now, I would say, on the whole, this is a game worth buying. It's very enjoyable. Playing against other people, very difficult.
I messed up by an inch now.
You know, and the other good thing is you can play in a team with your friends. You can play against your friends.
Yeah, 1-0 to Oregon.
Ah, Jesus, I've been in again.
What, you're playing against Jesus?
Yeah, we're playing against other players.
Now, would I recommend this? Yes, I would heartily recommend this, even to people who wouldn't play it, that I know wouldn't play a game like this. I would still recommend it to them. That's how much of a good game I believe this is.
You know, it reminds me a lot of the old
Superpower.
Twisted Metal.
Oh, Danny, yes. Oh, wasn't it?
Twisted Metal.
Yeah, a lot like Twisted Metal.
Twisted Metal. That's where
PlayStation
Sweet Tooth comes
game.
from. Sweet Tooth is one of the van vehicles that you unlock in this. It's the very last unlockable vehicle. And I think Psyonix are the company that done that. That done Twisted Metal. Now,
Rocket, do you want to look at the chat there?
as I said, I'll run through the list of pros and cons one last time, and that'll be that. Now, well, before I actually run through the pros and cons, now that you've played a match and you've played the game, would you agree that it's pick up and playable?
It is. I mean, there literally only are a few buttons to the game, so it's quite literally, if you've ever played a driving game, it's mostly the same buttons.
And would you say that it's actually quite a fun and enjoyable game to play?
It is quite fun, because I mean it's one of those titles that it's easy to play, but it's hard to master. Yes.
Now, not so much to compare it to its predecessor, but to compare one aspect of it. Do you think that in 7 years' time, Rocket League servers will still be on? You know, when we're changing to the next generation.
If this game makes it as an esport title, then I can easily see it getting plenty of updates and making it as far as that game.
Yeah, but so you think that it has the potential to have the longevity of supersonic, acrobatic, rocket powered battle cars?
Definitely, yes, definitely.
And what about yourself, Danny? Do you think, I know that you've played it a couple of times over the past week since it launched, would you say that this is a fun game that you can see yourself going back to time and time again?
Yeah, I actually play it by myself, but it's more fun with people.
So I think we can
Definitely.
agree that a positive for this game is the fun aspect and the replayability aspects of
Pick
the
up and
game.
play.
Holy crap! Someone just drove right through me.
Yes, it's called the
Hey.
demolition. I meant to mention
Tell
that
me how
earlier
to
on,
sort
viewer.
that.
If you've got your full turbo boost and you ram into one of your opponent's cars, you hear a click when you activate the turbo boost, and then you hear a second click. If you hear that second click and ram into an opponent's car, you demolish them and they start back at their goal. Would you say that it's a game you could see yourself playing in 7 years' time, Danny? If the servers were still on? Possibly.
Maybe.
Yes. So we can safely say that the fun and replayability factor are a positive for this game.
Absolutely.
And the excellent, shall we say, indie graphics. The excellent graphics for this being an independent title, which is currently free on PlayStation Plus. Would you say that again is another positive? Because I would.
Jeff
Definitely,
T has asked another question. He says, is there enough skill to be involved to make it impossible esport?
Yes, I believe there is. I was beaten the other night 12-2 online, and the guy that I was playing against, I can't for the life of me remember his gamer tag. He could make the ball. He could dribble with the ball as though he was actually playing like FIFA or Pro Evolution Soccer. He was actually dribbling with the ball. So there is skill involved. I have no idea how people dribble the ball in this game, but just watching it, it's fantastic. It's like that first time you see Stanley Matthews in a rerun of the 1950 FA Cup. It's like that first moment when you're a child and you see, Diego Maradona go for one of those lazy runs, or to bring it into this generation of footballers, the magic, when Lionel Messi takes a run. Watching someone play this game, for me, and being able to dribble the ball, that's a piece of magic. That's skill. So yeah, I believe that there is enough skill involved in this game to make it a viable esport. I mean, the only other esport that I can think of that works on a console is a third-person combat type game, and I believe that Xbox have got that in Smite. Other than that, you've got your various battle games, but that esports is a subject for the Super Game Bros podcast, which, by the way, folks, is the RambleMedia.tv official podcast. But back to Rocket League. So we can agree that there's a fun replayability factor about the game that will make us want to come back to it, whether it be in a couple of weeks, a couple of months, maybe even a couple of years. The graphics are very good. As I said, and you may have a different take on this, but I believe the soundtrack and the sound of the vehicles is quite generic. So for me, the sound is a negative, not so much a positive. I don't know, would you agree with that, or do you have a different take?
For what it is, I think it's very good. It has got great crowd sound, and it's got that digital sound, of like.
Almost had a goal there. It knocked it away just as I got it. I was actually managing to double there as you were.
Would that have been your first goal?
It would have been actually, yeah.
Hey! Well, so what about yourself, Will? Would you say that the soundtrack, would you agree with myself, or would you agree with Danny?
Well,
don't get me wrong, it suits the game.
I've not got any music playing other than... Nice goal, Danny. I mean, I don't actually have any music playing at the moment. I think it's just menu music that I've heard so far, but I mean, I quite like the music that's playing because I'm a fan of that kind of style. It's almost dubstep.
You see, to me, the music suits the game, but I think it's too generic a sound. I would have preferred, for a game this unique, I would have preferred a more unique soundtrack, if that makes sense. And I would have loved it if each of the cars had a different sound. While some of them may be deeper, while some of them may be higher pitched than others, they generally sound the same. But but for me, that's to me. I think the soundtrack's it's a slight negative, but it's a negative all the same. The ease of use of the general user interface, the menu-driven system, and all that. That's a positive because this is a game that you can just pick up and play. And for that fact alone, I would recommend it to anyone. The fact that it's free is another bonus, or currently free on PlayStation Plus for the month of July. There's numerous unlockables within the game, which means you can have hours of fun designing.
Yeah, I see a lot of cars wearing hats and stuff. There's a guy here with a halo over his head.
Yes, well, you can do that. Yeah, I mean, Danny's car's got a fez. I don't know why. Danny's the least Moroccan guy I've ever known.
Danny just let them score.
Oh, God damn it.
He ran me out the way as I was getting into the middle to stop them firing at straight at our goals from the start off. So he decided just to run me off the road.
You got him away.
So
I was in the balls where you have to.
So in the gameplay, the pick up and play gameplay is a positive. The graphics are a positive. The fun factor is a positive. The replayability factor, whether it's playing against friends online, whether it's trying to win that final last season on All-Star mode, the replayability factor. Sorry about that, viewers. They're all big positives. As far as I can see, and in my opinion, this game only has one negative, and that is the way it sounds generic. You know, graphically, it's great. Sound-wise, not so great. I mean, the crowd sounds are, you know, they're crowd sounds, but you expect to hear that sort of sound in a football game anyway. You know, the one other negative for me is the way the camera swings, and it appears to be under the pitch, so it alters your perception a wee bit of how to get the ball.
Danny,
but on the whole, and I think you would both agree that this game has more positives than negatives. Would you say that that's a fair summation?
Absolutely.
And yourself, Danny, would you say that it's fair to say there's more positives?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So, I think
one of my favourite games I've played.
I think the conclusion that we can reach with this coming into the last minute of the review is that...
Christ, I just gave him another goal.
Is that Rocket League
Danny?
Positives far outweigh the negatives, and I would thoroughly recommend this game to absolutely anyone and everyone. You go. Go on, Danny, what's the question?
Are the unlocks just cosmetic, or are some enhancing performance?
I haven't seen any performance enhancements at all to any of the vehicles with any of the different cars or hats or flags or anything like that. So personally, I don't think that matters. I think that's just an aesthetic choice more than anything. It's just you know, it's a wee bit of fun. It makes it look fun as well. You know, driving about with a car that's got a pirate hat on it, or as your car's got a fez or a policeman's hat, or you can paint a car completely yellow and put the taxi sign on it, and there you go, you've got a New York taxi cab, albeit a supersonic acrobatic rocket powered taxi cab, but well, there you go. You know,
and I got blown up again.
So I think the general conclusion is, if you're looking for a fun game that you can go back to time and time again, and just get lost in some sheer madness while at the same time having some fun, Rocket League is the game for you. Would you agree with that conclusion?
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. Yeah. And
on that note, viewers, I'd like to thank you for joining us for this launch review of RambleMedia.tv. The review is being saved on the Twitch archive, and I'll be editing parts of it tomorrow to go up on the site. Watch for the Ramble Media Twitter for more details on that. I'd like to thank both Will and Danny for joining me tonight, and I'm now away folks, to play Rocket League with Danny and Will and save them from losing all night long. Thank you very much for joining me. I've been your host, Ricky McMillan. I'll catch you in the Super Game Bros podcast. Episode 3 will go up on the internet on Thursday, and it features myself and Danny along with David and Rhiannon discussing why superheroes make bad video games. Thank you for joining us. I'll hear from you on Thursday, and I'm sure we'll see you again. Thank you very much. Goodbye.